Okay, so today I am making vanilla peach bourbon jam, and I'm really excited. I used about 20 peaches. I should have probably used closer to 22. So I have just under the 6 pounds that the recipe requires. And I'm using this bowl here just to mash up the peeled and pitted peaches, and then I'm transferring them into a non-reactive pot here that I'll be putting in the sugar, the lemon juice, as well as the bourbon and vanilla and almond extract. And then here I have my mason jars that are sanitizing in my large stock pot here, and the lids are sanitizing there. So right now I'm just letting those sit in the boiling water so they can stay sanitary, and I'm finishing up mashing these peaches here. So it's pretty simple. I just want to get those to a nice consistency. So I'm going to finish these up here, and then I'll go ahead and get this boiling. Okay, so I have everything mashed up and in the pot here, and I brought it to a rolling boil. So at this point I can go ahead and add in my pectin, which I have here, and it's 9 tablespoons, a lot of pectin. So I'm just going to add that in. And typically I would use wood utensils with this, but I really just, since it's my first time using this enameled cast iron, I was really nervous that things were going to stick, and I just didn't know what to expect. So I'm using Old Faithful here, my rubber spatula. Just want to make sure that that's thoroughly mixed in. Okay, so I'm just going to let that boil for a minute. So let me see here. In the meantime, what I have here is, well, this is the pectin I used, first of all. Just your average low or no sugar pectin. And then I've got my jack here. The recipe called for 6 tablespoons, so I have that pre-portioned out here. And then a little extra for the chef, aka me. And then I also have my extract. So what I've used here, I didn't have any vanilla bean on hand, so I used pure vanilla extract, and also I borrowed some pure almond extract. I didn't have it on hand, so luckily my good friend Kira did. So basically I'm just going to give this a couple more seconds here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in, I've got the jack, every last drop of that, the extract, sorry for the shaking, I'm a real professional over here. I'm going to take my little shot here. And I can feel it starting to get pretty thick at the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat down a little bit. And I'm just going to stir this in and let it continue to just be in a rolling boil. And as you can see, there's foam forming, which is not a jam maker's friend. So it happens with pretty much every jam, but what I'm going to do is just add in some butter. I've actually never tried this trick, but I see people use it all the time, so I really hope that this works and doesn't ruin things. But then again, I feel like if anything, butter will just enhance the flavor. So, and this smells absolutely magnificent. So I cannot wait to try this. And it's just about done here, actually. It says basically you just stir it constantly and boil for exactly 1 more minute and then remove it from heat. So I'm just going to make sure that butter really gets incorporated, and I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the heat, and then we should be good to go. I'm worried that, you know, it may not set up. The good thing about jam though is you can always say, if it doesn't set, that it was always meant to be a syrup. And this would go absolutely deliciously over some vanilla ice cream, some pancakes, on a spoon. It's gonna be delicious either way. So what I've got here is I refrigerated a plate. I'm gonna try and do just a jam test, but what I'm gonna do is let it sit for a little bit. I already can tell it's not gonna be, you know, immediately jam-like. So normally you can tell like on the edges here, when you scrape the pot, and you can see a little, it's sticking a little, but I mean, not much. So just gonna let that rest for a little bit on its own and go ahead and get the jam test going. So let's see here. So I already know that that's gonna remain liquidy for a little bit, so I'm gonna let that sit, and then I'm gonna get started on actually canning them. Surprised with the jam test. I literally have not, I mean, I didn't let it sit at all, and you can see, I mean, it's running a little bit, but it's running, it's all running. I mean, that's kind of what you want to see. Obviously, you know, that makes me think that it's only going to set up more over time. And I've had jam before, you know, when I tried to make orange marmalade for the first time, I put way too much pectin in because it was so runny. And I'm like, there's no way that this jam is going to set up. And then I ended up putting way too much pectin, and it was so thick, like it doesn't move at all in the jar. Like I can turn it over like a blizzard and it doesn't move. So this is kind of what you want to see, and that tells me that it's just going to keep getting thick, so that's perfect. Okay, so the jam is ready to go. Like I said before, it's set up pretty nicely, and it's continuing to set up. It tastes amazing, so really, really excited. So what I'm doing here, I'm just stirring it up, making sure everything, you know, is pretty even. And one thing I can already tell about the taste is that the extract and whiskey flavors come through, but they're not too prominent, which I know is going to be something that, you know, anybody I give this jam to is going to appreciate. You know, you can definitely taste it, that it's in there, but it is not in any way overpowering, which is nice. You know, a lot of times what you want is for it just to be a compliment. Unless you're making like a boozy jam. And even though I rarely freeze the jam because I usually give it away or use it relatively quickly, I still like to fill it to what's typically known as like the freezer line. So with these are Care mason jars. Like, you can't really tell from the label, but those are not the ball mason jars. These are the little ones. So this one actually has like kind of a freezer line. It's this little line here. I don't know if you can see that. But that makes it really easy to know, you know, if you are planning on freezing these, how much you need to fill it up. So I'm just going to get all of these filled. The recipe says it's going to make 12 8-ounce jars, which are these little ones here. But I definitely know from past experience, it usually always makes more.